Greetings, Benjamin J. from BENZTRAINZ with another in the series. Well, a quick follow-up on that Marx 994 that arrived this afternoon. As you can see, it's been touched up, lubed, and tuned, and this actually looks quite respectable. Now, the motor was actually running quite well right out of the box. A couple of drops of oil, and it took off running. So I pulled the motor out, cleaned it, lubed it, tuned it, cleaned the brushes and the armature, lubed the axles and the wheel bearings, and just gave it a general tune-up. And I took the shell and put it in a sink of hot soapy water and scrubbed it with a soft brush to get all the dirt and grime and grit off of it. Let it dry, touched up the paint with an ink marker, and I've just oiled it. And did the same thing with the nickel plate road tinder, as you can see. So even though this is far from perfect, it actually looks quite respectable, considering it was $11.50. So 2 bidders on eBay. I was the highest bidder, and here it is. It's up and running, and actually running really, really well. So I just got it back on the rail, and as you see, I put a light coat of 30 weight motor oil on it with a soft brush. Just brush it into the paint after I touched up all the spots that were missing the paint. And by tomorrow, this oil will have penetrated that paint, rejuvenated it, and this is actually going to look quite good. About 90% of this gloss will be gone. It's actually going to look quite good. Anyway, just want to do a quick video follow-up. Let's take this around. I put it on a Marx Consist, pulling 17 Marx cars. And as you can see, that is running just absolutely perfectly. So that's pulling 17 cars at 40% power. It's running nice and smooth, nice and quiet. It looks nice, and it was really, really cheap. That's the neat thing about it. So this reinforces what I say. Don't overlook the junk. $11.50 and about an hour of my time. So it looks nice, it runs well, it's completely original, has its original tinder. This is circa 1950. So it's 70 years old. And I've done nothing to it except clean it and lubricate it. Nothing else. So really pleased with this. It runs nice, it looks nice, and it was dirt cheap. So anyway, I just want to do a quick follow-up on this. So cleaned up the paint, cleaned up the tinder, touched up all the missing paint, oiled it, lubed it, tuned it, and this actually looks quite respectable. I don't think anybody would object to owning this. It doesn't look new, but it looks very, very good condition. And considering it's 70 years old, now it still has some discoloration, but I'm not going to pull the domes off and polish them back to steel. I'll just leave it as it is. It is old. And all I wanted to do was touch it up to make it look nice. And just washing it, just putting it down in that sink of hot water and scrubbing it with a soft brush did wonders for it. Once you get all the dirt and the grime off of it. And then the rest of it was just lubing and tuning, getting things cleaned up, getting all the junk and dirt and grime out of the motor itself, lubing the wheel bearings, cleaning the brushes and the armature. And as far as the tinder goes, pretty much the same thing. It's far from perfect, but I've touched up all the scratches on it, and this actually looks quite good. Like I said, I don't think anybody would object to owning this. Excuse me. Now, it's strange. You'll see these 994s on eBay with the tinder, sometimes without the tinder. 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, sometimes more than that. And as I always stress, if you're patient and you look around and you're willing to get your hands dirty, you can find some really, really inexpensive locomotives on eBay. Really, really inexpensive stuff. You know, 10 bucks, 12 bucks, even 20 bucks. And just because it says it doesn't run, doesn't mean it doesn't run. And in most cases, these Marx motors, if you know what you're doing and you know how they work, you can get these things running usually in a matter of minutes. It's usually either a brush problem, an electrical problem, or the thing has just been sitting for so long, it's so dirty that it's not making any electrical contact. It's really straightforward to repair these things. It's really, really simple. And it's a lot of fun. Because after you get one of these things cleaned up and lube tuned and it's running well, you can just sit back and watch this thing go around the rail. And in this case, $11.50 and an hour of my time. And touched up the missing paint with an ink marker on the locomotive and the tender. And basically just cleaned it up. And that's really all I had to do to it. There was nothing mechanically wrong with it. It was just filthy. It had been sitting for decades. So I put a light coat of motor oil on it with a soft brush and the tinder as well. So by tomorrow, 90% of this oil will be absorbed into this paint. It'll rejuvenate it. And this is actually going to look quite good. It was dirt cheap, it runs well, and it looks nice. How can you possibly beat that? Anyway, I just want to do a quick follow-up on this. As I stress, don't overlook the junk. $11.50, and this thing is running just absolutely splendidly. Pulling 17 cars at 40% power. And it was really inexpensive, and it looks nice. And you have the satisfaction of knowing you brought one of these old locomotives back to life. That's the neat thing about it. So it looks nice, and it was real cheap. And just running absolutely perfectly. So by tomorrow, that oil will have penetrated that paint. The paint will look virtually new. There's no great amount of damage to it. It had just been stored for decades. Fortunately, someplace hot. And that's why there's no rust on the locomotive at all. So it was definitely worth the $11.50. No doubt about that. An hour of my time, and this is the result. So this is a great addition to the collection, and it was absolutely dirt cheap. So just wanted to do a quick follow-up video. Marx 994 with its original tinder, $11.50. Here it is running absolutely splendidly. So just a quick follow-up video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.